Howdy, Brady. This is T Walker, aka Tanner, and thanks for doing that video. Awesome. And so this is my response to you on, let's see how close I can get your character to how you want it. I'm pretty sure I can get it exactly to what you want it, and if I don't do that in this video, you say, well, okay, well, you said this in the video, but I really wanted this, and I'll leave a comment to tell you how I would change what I said right now into more how you want it. But from what you said, I'm pretty sure I can get pretty darn close. So your character is a social character. Well, that's awesome, because in my system I have three different types. First thing you do when you make your character is, just like any other thing, you need your stats. And my stats are broken up into three categories, and each of these three categories have three stats under them. So there's the physical, there's the mental, and there's the social. Alright? Those are your three categories. And then you have three stats underneath each. So under your physical, you've got strength, reflex, endurance. Under your mental, you've got aptitude, awareness, and willpower. And under your social, you got aura, cunning, and composure. Now, the way I run my character creation is you are required to put 3 points, a minimum of 3 points into each one of these. So you're required to put at least 3 points into some of the physical stats, at least 3 points into some of the mental stats, and at least 3 points into some of the social stats. But after that, you get 4 points to spend as you choose on any stats you want. And so you said, so just for the basic 3 points in each, you said physical, you wanted a good reflex. Probably put make reflex the highest one of those, maybe at the sacrifice of strength or endurance. I would guess for your character probably at the sacrifice of strength, seeing as he's not so my phone's ringing. Seeing as he's not so buff and burly, as he's more of a mediator. For your mental stats, probably good awareness, a good willpower. Probably just average those out a little bit. I mean, from what you described, he's probably going to be just average smart. You can make him crazy smart, but not really necessary for what you've described that you want to do. Your social, aura, which is aura, cunning, and composure. You're going to want aura, and probably a little bit of composure as well. So I'm going to put points in there, and then with those 4 extra stats that you get, I'm going to, from what you've told me, pump those into aura, which is, this is your charm, this is your, just like the sheer force of your personality. Which is really going to help your character out when he's trying to persuade people. Cunning is a little bit different. Cunning is to reflex as aura is to strength. Aura is like the sheer force of your personality, it's your charisma, whereas cunning is, your ability to lie, your ability to see if someone's lying. It's more along those lines. So you sound like much more of an aura character than me, that's why I made that choice. So now, those would be your stats, a relatively higher aura. And just for the record, all stats in my system are measured in dice types. So all your stats started at D2, right? And then you spend 1 point to upgrade the dice type to a D4, to a D6, to a D8, to a D10, to a D12. D12 is the maximum. So I pump a lot of those extra stats into, aura. Those 4 extra ones I get at the end that I told you about into aura, probably putting it around a D8, a D10, just really charismatic. That'd be great. Now, the next thing I move on to, I got my notes here. Next thing I would move on to is your skills for your character concept. And, well, first, you want to be a mediator between, Fae and people. You're going to need to speak Fae. So that's the first one, you gotta speak the language. So that's one of your skills. And it's a weird type of skill where you just spend, a straight character creation point, and you have the skill now. You can speak fluently. Now, to mention about skills, in character creation, you have 4 points to spend on skills, which must be used to purchase a minimum of 3 skills. So you can purchase a 4th skill, or you can put 2 points into 1 skill. And you can change. I will get to your other points later, but this is just for nowsies. Most likely the 3 skills I'd pick for you, you'd have your language. You gotta speak Fae. You're probably going to have a lore or a scholarly skill, knowledge skill about the history of the Fae and the humans, right? That would be a good thing to know. You know, the history of the Fae, why they went to war, what kind are sympathetic towards humans, who would be your best bet to mediate with. That knowledge skill going to be key, I think, to your character. And then you're going to want the speechcraft skill. You're a mediator. You need to talk. That's the skill I would put 2 points into for you. Alright? So that's your basic skill set. 3 skills. And now, I want to describe something too, so you're like, 3 skills, that's it? These skills are very broad categories and they can be used for very many things. In my whole system, and I'm reducing it right now, there is only 15 skills about. That's it. But they are very large categories. They are more akin to classes, really. Like, for example, the melee combat skill is not just, you know, hacking and slashing thing. It's also tactics. It's also this or that. So the skills are very broad concepts, which is why you only get a selected few. And so your background is in, you know, the lore. You can speak the language, and also you can, you know, you have this speechcraft. Alright? So those would be your skills. Now, just I'm looking at the character sheet to make sure I got everything. Or I'm getting everything. I'm not done yet, don't worry. So, your traits and abilities. Now, this is where it gets kind of cool. You mentioned you'd want to have something with the more arcane, which I completely agree with. I think that would be good as well. So, you mentioned kind of a druid-esque thing, and what I would do for that is I would purchase the 2, because remember there's 4 paths to the arcane. There's the physical, mental, spiritual, and time. And from what you described, I think what you would really like would be the spiritual and physical. So I'd purchase those 2, and they cost 2 character creation points each to purchase. So in my character creation process, after you purchase skills, next you purchase abilities, and you get 6 to 7 points. I'm still working out. It's 6 to 8 points actually. I'm still working out how many you get based on the videos I get back. That's gonna tell me a lot. So let's start out with 8 right now and see if that's too many. So it costs 2 character creation points to purchase 1 rank of magic, and that's a D2 in the magical ability, right? So you'd have a D2 in it. And so I would put 1 D2 into physical and 1 D2 into spiritual. And what spiritual does is it's really a knowledge and communication magic. When you can communicate and know the soul of something, you're really going to be able to better express yourself towards it, and better, you know, get on its level. Alright, you know what I'm saying? In my setting, everything has a soul. A sword has a soul. It has a history, right? And by communicating with the spirit of that sword, you can see who held it, who it's killed, all the different objects. You can ask it questions. You can ask its very essence a question, and it will answer back if it likes you. And so that's really going to help you know the positioning of the people you're talking to. Also, a very light physical magic is going to help you maybe in tight situations. Depending on whether or not you want that, you could just throw that out and purchase, you know, something in another thing. But, you know, the more druidy thing, and you'd flavor it, you know, with, if you're going for that druid side, you know, elemental, wind, water, the movement of the earth to do whatever you please in the physical realm. So that's what I would do for your 2 spells. So I've used 4 character creation points, 2 to purchase the spiritual path, and 2 to purchase the physical one. So, and you know, you just have a D2, just kind of minor magic, but you still have magic. You still have that arcane background, and you can flavor that however you want. Whether you made a deal with a fae, maybe you have fae blood in you from your parents somewhere, whatever you want. So now you mentioned, you know, you wanted a listen to me spell or ability that would kind of command people's attention. I'm glad you put that in because my system can do that. So I would say, okay, well, if I were the DM and you were my player, I'd be like, okay, well, how much attention do you want to grab? How potent do you want this ability to be? Do you want, you to cast it and everybody in 50 feet is like enamored, glamored by you, or do you want just, a little bit of edge? That's going to determine the energy cost of this, alright? So say you want just a minor one, or kind of minor, you want a bonus, 3 skill dice to your persuade every time you use this, for a certain duration, of course. And I'd be like, alright, so since it's 3 skill dice, I'm going to mark off 3 on the potency. Duration, how long do you want to last? You say, just a little bit, just enough for a conversation. I'm going to say, okay, 2 rounds, alright? Which is going to add another dice, or another number, because the 2 round is another box on this chart. Okay, and I was like, okay, now how many do you want to affect a certain number of people? And you're like, oh, just 1. Alright, that's another box, bringing you up to 5. Is it in an area? Nah, it's just to, one single person. Alright, and so that's, you wouldn't have for that because, it's just an area. And then say, okay, now how far away do you have to be for this to work? You're like, I have to be, close enough to touch them, to look into their eyes. Alright, so your spell right now costs 5 energy, alright? And 1 character creation point, because every spell, no matter what it is, costs 1 character creation point. Alright? And it takes a round to cast. So you're like, okay, I like that spell, I'm going to keep it. So now you have that spell, that listen to me spell, and you can change those numbers however you want, and say, I really want it to be in 15, well, I can do that. Or I really want it to affect, an area around me, I can do that too. They'll just increase the energy it costs. Right? And you can even spend more character creation points to decrease the amount of energy it's going to cost you. So say you got, a big spell, a hefty spell, it's like a 10 energy cost, and you're like, that's going to kill me every time I use it. You can spend a couple more energy costs to reduce it, depending on, what you want. So that's what I'd do for you. Alright, so we had 8 character creation points, right? So 2, 4 for the, 2 for the spiritual, 4 physical, and then 5 for that one ability to purchase. You've got 3 left. Now, these ability points can be spent anywhere you want, in more skills or in more stats. So what I'd do with these last 3 is I'd probably pump up your knowledge of the lore of the forest, so you're well versed in it, probably to a 2 or a 3. Let's say 3, and I'd pump up your persuasion to 3. Alright? And then that would pretty much be your character. You've got your abilities, I've got everything off, and that would allow you to play pretty much exactly what you want to play, and we can tweak that however you want. You could leave me comments, say, I really want this, and I will say, you got that, and I'll tell you what you would have to give or give back, or how you could go about getting what you wanted. Alright, I hope that this was interesting to you. I hope that you enjoyed this. And anyway, this has been T Walker, aka Tanner, and I'm signing off.